Welcome at this short lesson about heavy lifting. This lesson we're going to speak about the parts of the crane, their names and their functions, rules concerning the maintenance and inspections of cranes and lifting gear, a load test, what it implies, alarms pre-installed on cranes, some points of attention prior and during the lifting itself, the lifting gear, lifting with ballast, water ballast, and the movement of the vertical center of gravity and the transverse center of gravity, and interpreting a hoisting diagram. So I'm going to show you the parts of the crane. This is a standard crane you see. Number one, the crane house. It's over here. This is the crane house with over here the cabin. Here's the crane driver seated with an overview on the ship, the cargo hold, the jib of the crane, and the quayside. Number three, the jib or the boom. That's this part of the crane. That's actually giving length to the lift. The crane pedestal, in Dutch we say kraanvoet, the feet of the crane, and that's actually the foundation of the crane. And the color here it's like a white grayish, and this foundation it's integrated into the casco of the ship. Concerning tension and shear force, this is a pretty important part if we look at risks during lifting. The slewing bearing, it's from the inside. Actually, with the slewing bearing, we rotate the crane house over the crane pedestal, the crane foot, and we call this rotation slewing. The turning point of the jib, that's over here. Number 6, where is number 6? Yes, sorry that it took some time. So this is the turning point of the jib, the runner wire of the auxiliary hoist. We distinguish two kind of wires on this crane, a hanger wire or a runner wire. And the runner wires are those which actually can move the yellow hooks up or down. This is the auxiliary hoist and this is the main hoist. On the left side, the main hoist. So we are at the main hoist. There's a limit switch integrated just underneath the jib or the boom. It's actually a switch electrically, and it's actually preventing the crane block to collide with the underside of the jib or the boom. We call that a limit switch. Over here, number 8. So the hanger wire, the jib is actually resting in the hanger wire. There are multiple sheaves over here, and the hanger wire is going a couple of times up and down to be more strong, although it's a bit slower due to that setup. The runner wire of the main block, it's hard to see, but it's actually the wires corresponding with these two parts of the main block over here, the runner wire. So there are two types. Swivel over here. In Dutch we say wartel. So if you have some torsion within your lifting setup, among the swivel, the lift can rotate infinitely around, and it will make sure that your lifting setup doesn't entangle or doesn't tordate. The next number, the ramshorn hook over here. I think I have a close-up in just a second. In Dutch we say ramshornhaak. The maximum list we work with, and that's due to this slewing bearing and also the foundation, the crane pedestal within the casco of the ship. That's 2 degrees. That's actually also what is mentioned in the book Van Dokkum. What you see with offshore ships, that the crane pedestal and the foundation around it, it's made stronger, and that we can have a bit higher lists than 2 degrees on offshore ships. So certification, the safe working load, it's usually painted on the jib. You see it over here, and this weight is always combined with the outreach of the crane. In Dutch we say vlucht. There are always combinations, so it's a moment together, a moment. So some other parts of the certification: the register of lifting appliances and cargo handling gear. The rules are actually coming from the International Labour Organization, and it's integrated in the Dutch ARBO laws. We distinguish among a couple of parts. So the responsibilities are divided among 3 parties. Some stuff is done by the ship itself, by a authorized person from the shipping company, usually the chief engineer, and the other 2 parts, they are done by the class bureau or the flag state. So what is inside this register? Rules for yearly and 5-yearly inspections, the test certificates for all the parts which are inside of this register, and the minimal demands to where items comply to, and their overdue date, of course, needless to say. So when it's actually expiring and you need a retest, we call this the overdue date or the due date. That's also mentioned in this register. What usually is done by surveyors among the world is that they combine multiple surveys, which can also be surveys for this part, for this register, and they harmonize these surveys, they cluster it together, and this clustering together in time prevents that the surveyor needs to travel unnecessary often. And we call this system, to harmonize it in time, the harmonized system of survey and certification. So an example of a load test, this is done, if I'm right, every 5 years. So they fill up these balloons with water, and there's a load cell somewhere over here where I will speak shortly about, and they can test the crane if it can reach its capacity in a safe manner. I have a small movie about that in a second. That's